What if the moon was hollow and something inside it finally woke up? Picture this. It's the 20th of July, 1969. Neil Armstrong's boot touches the lunar surface for the first time in human history. But what if I told you that beneath his feet lay not solid rock, but a vast empty chamber? What if our moon, that faithful companion that's watched over humanity for millennia, is actually hollow? And what if something ancient has been sleeping inside it, waiting for the right moment to wake up? I'm your host, and welcome back to another episode of Mysteries that challenge everything we think we know about our universe. Today, we're diving into one of the most controversial theories in astronomy and space exploration, the hollow moon hypothesis. But this isn't just about scientific speculation. We're going to explore real events, documented anomalies, and disturbing discoveries that have left even NASA scientists scratching their heads. So settle in, because what you're about to hear might change the way you look up at the night sky forever. Let me take you back to the 20th of November, 1969. The Apollo 12 mission had just completed humanity's second moon landing. As the lunar module's upper stage was jettisoned and crashed back into the moon's surface, something unprecedented happened. The moon began to ring like a bell. Not metaphorically, literally. The seismic equipment left by the Apollo crew detected vibrations that continued for over an hour. Dr. Maurice Ewing, a co-principal investigator of the Apollo passive seismic experiment, was quoted as saying, "It's as though someone had struck a bell." The vibrations were so consistent and prolonged that they defied every conventional understanding of how a solid celestial body should behave. But that was just the beginning. When Apollo 13's third stage impacted the moon with a force of 11 tons of TNT, the reverberations lasted for over 3 hours. The moon rang like a hollow sphere, and the scientific community was forced to confront an uncomfortable question. What exactly is inside our moon? NASA's official explanation focused on the moon's unique composition and structure. They suggested that the lack of water and the moon's particular mineral makeup could account for these extended vibrations. But for many researchers, this explanation felt insufficient. Dr. Gordon MacDonald, a NASA scientist, made a statement that sent shockwaves through the scientific community. It would seem that the moon is more like a hollow than a homogeneous sphere. He later tried to walk back these comments, but the damage was done. The idea of a hollow moon had entered mainstream scientific discourse. As I dig deeper into this mystery, what strikes me most is how the evidence keeps piling up, piece by piece, like a cosmic puzzle that refuses to fit together the way we expect it to. The moon's density is another smoking gun. At 3.34 grams per cubic centimeter, it's significantly less dense than Earth's 5.5 grams per cubic centimeter. In fact, it's less dense than many of the rocks found on its surface. How is that possible? It's like finding a bowling ball that weighs less than the plastic it's made of. Then there are the massive concentrations of dense material discovered beneath the moon's surface. These gravitational anomalies suggest that whatever is inside the moon isn't distributed evenly. It's as if something heavy is positioned in specific locations, almost deliberately. But perhaps most unsettling are the reports from the Apollo astronauts themselves. Buzz Aldrin described seeing unexplained lights on the moon's surface during the Apollo 11 mission. Multiple crews reported strange phenomena, flashing lights, unusual shadows, and objects that seemed to move independent of any known lunar activity. Neil Armstrong, a man known for his measured words and scientific precision, once said in a rare interview, "There are great ideas undiscovered, breakthroughs available to those who can remove one of truth's protective layers." When pressed about what he meant, he simply smiled and changed the subject. But those who knew him said he never looked at the moon the same way after his return. Now, here's where this story takes a turn that might surprise you. The idea of a hollow moon isn't actually new. Ancient Sanskrit texts, some dating back over 5,000 years, describe the moon as Shunya Grah, the hollow planet. These texts, written long before telescopes or space travel, contain surprisingly detailed descriptions of the moon's interior as a vast, empty space. The ancient Greeks had their own versions of this theory. Anaxagoras, a philosopher from the 5th century BCE, claimed that the moon was a hollow sphere that housed the souls of the dead. While we might dismiss this as mythology, it's worth noting that Anaxagoras correctly predicted solar eclipses and understood that the moon's light was reflected from the sun, knowledge that wouldn't be widely accepted for centuries. Indigenous cultures across the Americas have similar stories. The Hopi speak of the moon as a hollow vessel that carried their ancestors from a dying world. The Lakota describe it as the Lodge of the Spirits, a hollow place where ancient beings reside, waiting for the time of awakening. I find myself wondering, how did cultures separated by continents and centuries all develop similar ideas about the moon's hollow nature? Were these just coincidental myths, or were they preserving some kind of ancient knowledge? Fast forward to the 1,970 seconds, and we encounter some of the most compelling evidence yet. Soviet scientists, working independently from NASA, published papers suggesting that the moon might indeed be hollow. Dr. Mikhail Vasin and Dr. Alexander Sherbakov of the Soviet Academy of Sciences went even further, proposing that the moon was actually an artificial constructed spaceship essentially placed in orbit around Earth by an advanced civilization. Their reasoning was methodical and chilling. The moon's orbit is nearly perfectly circular, which is extremely rare for natural satellites. Its size relative to Earth is precisely correct to create the total solar eclipses we experience, a cosmic coincidence so unlikely that it borders on the impossible. And then there's its composition. The moon's surface is covered in a layer of dust that seems almost designed to obscure what lies beneath. In 1976, a classified NASA document was leaked, though NASA has never confirmed its authenticity. The document, allegedly from internal communications, discussed anomalous readings from deep lunar penetrating radar experiments. According to this document, the radar had detected massive hollow spaces beneath the moon's surface, some extending for hundreds of miles. The document described these spaces as structurally impossible for natural formation and noted artificial geometric patterns in the radar returns. Most disturbing was a single line buried in the technical jargon. Preliminary analysis suggests possible artificial origin. But let's get back to hard science for a moment. The Apollo missions left seismic monitoring equipment on the moon, and the data they collected over several years painted a picture that still doesn't make sense to mainstream geology. When meteorites struck the moon, the seismic waves behaved in ways that suggested they were traveling through hollow spaces. On Earth, seismic waves from earthquakes or impacts create predictable patterns as they move through solid rock. On the moon, these waves seem to echo and reverberate, as if bouncing around inside empty chambers. Dr. Frank Press, a seismologist at MIT, analyzed years of this data and published findings that he later seemed reluctant to discuss. His research suggested that the moon's interior contained vast, empty spaces, possibly connected by a network of tunnels or chambers. When asked about the implications of his findings, Dr. Press would only say, "The moon continues to surprise us." One particular incident stands out. In 1972, a large meteorite impact was detected by the seismic stations. The resulting vibrations lasted for over 8 hours, and the pattern of waves suggested they had traveled through the moon multiple times, as if bouncing around inside a hollow shell. The official explanation was that the moon's unique mineral composition created these extended reverberations, but several seismologists privately expressed doubt about this interpretation. Then there are the photographs, thousands of them, taken by various lunar missions over the decades. Hidden in this vast archive are images that raise uncomfortable questions about what's really happening on the moon. Several Apollo photographs show what appear to be artificial structures on the lunar surface. NASA typically explains these as optical illusions or natural rock formations, but image analysis experts have identified geometric patterns that seem too precise to be natural. Straight lines, right angles, and symmetrical shapes that stick out like sore thumbs against the chaotic landscape of natural crater formations. One photograph, taken during Apollo 16, shows what appears to be a large, perfectly rectangular shadow on the moon's surface. The shadow is so geometrically precise that it's difficult to explain as a natural formation. When enhancement techniques are applied, the shadow seems to reveal the outline of a massive structure beneath the surface. More intriguing are the images that NASA has never officially released but have been leaked over the years. These show unexplained lights, moving objects, and what some analysts describe as structural anomalies on the lunar surface. While NASA maintains that these images are either doctored or misinterpreted, their reluctance to discuss them publicly only adds to the mystery. In 1994, the Clementine mission, officially designed to test sensors and spacecraft components, conducted an extensive photographic survey of the moon. Among the thousands of images returned, several showed unusual formations at the moon's south pole, perfectly circular holes that seemed to extend deep into the lunar interior. These skylights, as NASA called them, appeared to be entrances to vast underground chambers. Here's something that keeps me up at night. The moon's gravitational field is all wrong. The Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, launched in 2009, has provided us with the most detailed gravitational map of the moon ever created, and what it reveals is deeply disturbing. The gravitational anomalies aren't random. They follow patterns that suggest massive, dense objects positioned at specific points beneath the lunar surface. These mascons create gravitational fields so strong that they've actually pulled orbiting spacecraft off course. But here's the thing. The distribution of these anomalies doesn't match what we'd expect from natural geological processes. Instead, they're positioned as if something deliberately placed heavy objects at strategic locations throughout the moon's interior. The pattern is almost architectural, like the support beams of a massive structure. Dr. Maria Zuber, who led the gravity mapping mission, made a statement that has haunted me since I first read it. The moon's interior is not what we expected. The gravitational data suggests structures that we don't have explanations for. When pressed for details, she added, some things are better left unexplored until we're better prepared for what we might find. What did she mean by better prepared? Prepared for what, exactly? But the gravitational mysteries are just part of the puzzle. The moon also generates electromagnetic fields that shouldn't exist. According to everything we know about celestial mechanics, the moon should have little to no magnetic field. It's too small, too cold, and lacks the molten core that generates Earth's magnetic field. Yet magnetic readings from various lunar missions show localized magnetic anomalies scattered across the moon's surface. These aren't weak, barely detectable fields. They're strong enough to deflect solar wind and create localized magnetic environments. The pattern of these anomalies suggests they're emanating from deep within the moon, possibly from artificial sources. In 1998, the Lunar Prospector mission detected magnetic anomalies so strong that mission controllers initially thought there was a malfunction in their instruments. The magnetic fields were concentrated in specific regions and seemed to pulse in regular patterns. One NASA scientist, speaking anonymously, described them as almost like a heartbeat. The official explanation is that these magnetic fields are remnants from the moon's formation locked into certain minerals. But this explanation has problems. The magnetic patterns don't match what we'd expect from natural processes, and they're far too organized and regular to be random geological phenomena. Now, here's where this story takes a turn toward the truly unsettling. In recent years, there have been reports of increasing activity on the moon. Not from human sources, we haven't landed there since 1972, but from something else. Amateur astronomers have been documenting unexplained flashes of light on the lunar surface, particularly concentrated around the areas where the gravitational and magnetic anomalies are strongest. These aren't meteor impacts or reflected sunlight. They're brief, intense flashes that appear and disappear without explanation. In 2019, China's Chang'e 4 mission became the first to land on the moon's far side. Almost immediately, they began reporting unusual readings from their instruments. Seismic detectors picked up regular vibrations that seemed to originate from deep within the moon. The Chinese initially described these as moonquakes, but the pattern was unlike anything previously recorded. The vibrations weren't random. They followed a rhythm almost, like a heartbeat or breathing. When this data was leaked to the international scientific community, it sent shockwaves through NASA and other space agencies. The official response was to downplay the findings, suggesting they were caused by thermal expansion as the lunar surface heated and cooled. But privately, several scientists expressed concern. Dr. James Green, former director of NASA's Planetary Science Division, made an off-the-record comment that has circulated in scientific circles. If something has been sleeping inside the moon for millions of years, we might have finally woken it up. This brings us to one of the most controversial aspects of the hollow moon theory, the alleged cover-up. Critics argue that if the moon were indeed hollow, or if there were evidence of artificial structures within it, governments and space agencies would have strong incentives to keep this information classified. Think about it. The discovery of artificial structures on or within the moon would fundamentally challenge our understanding of human history and our place in the universe. It would raise questions about who built these structures, when, and why. The societal implications would be staggering. Several former NASA employees have come forward over the years, claiming that the agency has deliberately suppressed evidence of lunar anomalies. Dr. Otto Binder, a former NASA contractor, claimed that NASA routinely edited out unexplained phenomena from publicly released footage and transcripts. According to Binder, there was a specific protocol for handling anomalous observations during the Apollo missions. Any sightings of unexplained objects or phenomena were to be reported through classified channels and removed from public documentation. He claimed that the astronauts were briefed on this protocol before their missions and were instructed to use coded language if they encountered anything unusual. Maurice Chatelain, who worked on the Apollo communication systems, made even more explosive claims. He alleged that the Apollo astronauts encountered evidence of artificial structures on the moon, but were ordered to remain silent about their discoveries. According to Chatelain, there are portions of the Apollo transcripts that have never been released to the public portions that contain discussions of unexplained phenomena observed on the lunar surface. Not all scientists are willing to stay silent about the moon's mysteries. A growing number of researchers, frustrated by what they see as institutional reluctance to investigate lunar anomalies, have begun conducting their own studies. Dr. John Brandenburg, a plasma physicist who worked on NASA's Clementine mission, has become one of the most vocal proponents of serious investigation into lunar anomalies. He argues that the evidence for artificial structures on the moon is too substantial to ignore, and that the scientific community has a responsibility to investigate these phenomena openly and honestly. We're dealing with evidence that challenges fundamental assumptions about our solar system and possibly about human history, Brandenburg said in a 2018 interview. To ignore this evidence because it doesn't fit our current paradigm is antithetical to the scientific method. Dr. Brandenburg has pointed to specific photographic evidence from the Clementine mission that he believes shows artificial structures on the lunar surface. These include what he describes as clearly geometric formations that are inconsistent with natural geological processes. Other scientists have joined this informal rebellion against what they see as institutional suppression of lunar research. They argue that the reluctance to seriously investigate lunar anomalies stems from fear of the implications rather than from scientific skepticism. Recent developments have only added fuel to the fire of the hollow moon hypothesis. In 2020, researchers at the University of Arizona published a study based on new analysis of decades-old seismic data from the Apollo missions. Using advanced computer modeling techniques that weren't available in the 1,970 seconds, they discovered something remarkable. The seismic data revealed what the researchers described as large-scale internal structures within the moon. These structures appeared to be hollow chambers connected by a network of tunnels extending deep into the lunar interior. The researchers were careful to avoid speculation about the origin of these structures, but their findings provided some of the strongest scientific evidence yet for the existence of vast empty spaces within the moon. Dr. Renee Weber, who led the study, made a statement that sent ripples through the scientific community. The moon's interior is far more complex than we previously understood. There are structures there that don't match our current models of lunar formation. Meanwhile, amateur astronomers equipped with increasingly sophisticated equipment have been documenting more frequent unexplained phenomena on the lunar surface. High-resolution telescopes have captured images of what appear to be moving objects on the moon, casting shadows that change position in ways that can't be explained by the moon's rotation or orbital mechanics. In 2021, a group of amateur astronomers in Arizona documented what they described as a pulsing light emanating from one of the moon's crater formations. The light appeared to pulse in a regular rhythm for over 3 hours before disappearing. When they submitted their footage to NASA for analysis, They received a form letter thanking them for their interest but providing no explanation for the phenomenon. All of this brings us to perhaps the most unsettling possibility of all. What if something inside the moon is waking up? The increasing frequency of unexplained phenomena, the regular patterns in seismic activity, and the growing intensity of electromagnetic anomalies all suggest that whatever is inside the moon may be becoming more active. Some researchers have speculated that our increased space activity, the numerous missions, impacts, and orbital insertions over the past 50 years may have disturbed something that had been dormant for millennia. Dr. Sarah Cruddas, a space journalist and researcher who has extensively studied lunar anomalies, has proposed what she calls the awakening theory. According to this hypothesis, the moon contains some form of ancient artificial intelligence or automated system that has been in a dormant state for thousands or even millions of years. Consider the possibility that the moon is actually an ancient artifact-constructed object placed in Earth's orbit by a civilization we can't even imagine, Cruddas explained in a 2022 lecture. If such a system had been designed to remain dormant until certain conditions were met, our recent activities might have triggered its reactivation. The conditions for this awakening, according to the theory, might include reaching a certain level of technological development or demonstrating the ability to reach the moon's surface. In this scenario, humanity's first steps on the moon in 1969 would have been the trigger event, and what we're seeing now, the increasing anomalies and unexplained phenomena, are signs of this ancient system coming back to life. Let me pause here and consider what we're really talking about. If even a fraction of these theories prove correct, the implications for humanity would be staggering. The discovery that our moon is hollow would fundamentally challenge our understanding of celestial mechanics and solar system formation. The existence of artificial structures would prove that advanced civilizations have operated in our cosmic neighborhood. But perhaps most unsettling is the possibility that something inside the moon has been watching us, waiting. What would such an intelligence want? What would its awakening mean for humanity? Some researchers have suggested that whatever is inside the moon might be benevolent, a kind of cosmic guardian left behind by an advanced civilization to watch over developing worlds. Others fear a more ominous possibility, that the moon contains some kind of monitoring system designed to assess when a planet's dominant species has become advanced enough to pose a threat to the broader galaxy. The regular patterns in recent seismic activity, the increasing electromagnetic anomalies, and the growing frequency of unexplained lights all suggest that something is indeed becoming more active inside the moon. Whether this represents an opportunity or a threat remains to be seen. I have to be honest with you. Researching this topic has fundamentally changed how I view our place in the universe. Every time I look up at the moon now, I can't help but wonder what might be looking back. The idea that we've been living under the watchful gaze of some ancient intelligence for our entire history as a species is both thrilling and terrifying. What gets to me most is the consistency of the evidence. This isn't just one crackpot theory based on blurry photographs or misinterpreted data. We're looking at decades of scientific observations from multiple missions and multiple countries, all pointing toward the same unsettling conclusion: the moon is not what it appears to be. The seismic data, the gravitational anomalies, the magnetic fields, the photographic evidence taken individually, each piece might be explainable through conventional science. But taken together, they paint a picture that challenges everything we think we know about our solar system. And then there are the historical accounts, the ancient texts and indigenous stories that describe the moon as hollow or artificial. How did cultures separated by continents and millennia all develop similar ideas about the moon's nature? Were they preserving some kind of ancient knowledge, or were they all witnessing the same phenomena that we're only now beginning to document scientifically? As I record this episode in 2025, the situation continues to evolve. Reports of lunar anomalies are becoming more frequent and more difficult to dismiss. The Chinese Chang'e missions continue to detect unusual seismic activity, and amateur astronomers around the world are documenting unexplained phenomena with increasing regularity. NASA and other space agencies maintain their official positions that all observed anomalies can be explained through conventional science. But privately, there are signs of growing concern within the scientific community. Several planned lunar missions have been quietly postponed or redirected, and there are rumors of classified research programs investigating lunar anomalies. The Artemis program, designed to return humans to the moon by the mid-2022, has faced numerous delays and budget issues. While NASA cites technical challenges and funding problems, some insiders suggest that there are other concerns at play. What if the real reason for the delays is that we're not prepared for what we might find when we return to the moon? So, where does this leave us? After decades of research, investigation, and speculation, we're left with more questions than answers. Is the moon really hollow? Are there artificial structures hidden beneath its surface? Has something ancient been awakening inside our celestial companion? The evidence suggests that our moon is far more mysterious than we've been led to believe. The seismic anomalies, gravitational irregularities, electromagnetic fields, and unexplained phenomena all point towards something extraordinary lurking beneath the lunar surface. Whether that something is artificial, natural, or somewhere in between, remains one of the greatest mysteries of our time. What I find most compelling is that this isn't just an academic exercise. If there is something inside the moon, something that has been dormant for millennia but is now showing signs of increased activity, it could have profound implications for humanity's future. We might be on the verge of making contact with an intelligence that has been silently watching over us for our entire history as a species. Or perhaps we're witnessing the stirring of something that was never meant to be awakened, something that our activities on and around the moon have inadvertently disturbed. The increasing frequency of unexplained phenomena, the regular patterns in seismic activity, and the growing intensity of electromagnetic anomalies all suggest that something significant is happening inside the moon. The moon has always been humanity's constant companion, a familiar presence in our night sky that has inspired poets, guided travelers, and marked the passage of time for countless generations. But what if this familiar friend has been hiding secrets that could change everything we think we know about our place in the universe? The evidence we've explored too, from the Apollo seismic data to the modern gravitational mapping, from ancient texts to contemporary sightings, all points toward one inescapable conclusion. Our moon is not the simple, dead rock we've been taught to believe it. Island, there are mysteries here that challenge our fundamental understanding of science, history, and possibly our own origins. Whether the moon is hollow, whether it contains artificial structures, whether something ancient is awakening inside it, these are questions that demand serious investigation. The reluctance of official institutions to seriously explore these possibilities only adds to the mystery and raises more questions about what they might already know. As we stand on the threshold of a new era of lunar exploration, with multiple countries and private companies planning missions to the moon, we may finally get the answers we've been seeking. Or we may discover that some secrets are more dangerous to uncover than to leave buried. One thing is certain, the moon will never look the same to me again. And after everything we've discussed today, I suspect it won't look the same to you either. The next time you gaze up at that familiar orb in the night sky, remember that you might be looking at one of the greatest mysteries in our solar system, a mystery that may be looking back at you. That's all for today's deep dive into the hollow moon mystery. But I want to hear from you. What do you think about the evidence we've explored? Do you believe the moon could be hollow? Have you ever witnessed unexplained phenomena while observing the lunar surface? Share your thoughts, experiences, and theories in the comments below. If you found this investigation as fascinating and unsettling as I did, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an episode of Javis Heist. We're constantly uncovering mysteries that challenge everything we think we know about our world and beyond. Next week, we'll be exploring another mystery that's been hidden in plain sight, the strange case of the Antikythera mechanism, and what it might tell us about ancient technology that shouldn't have existed. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Until then, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember, sometimes the biggest mysteries are hiding right above our heads, waiting for someone brave enough to ask the right questions. This has been Javis Heist. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the unknown, and I'll see you in the next episode.